Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Lenox Justifier of Innocence, created by Zeus and Demeter to save humanity. I am here as the character Josephine, and this is Mr. Buddy the guard dog. Now before we get started today, I did just want to thank you all who are following along and hope that you are all having an amazing weekend and that your week was great also. In today's story, we are going to be covering a patron's request. It is based on the topic that we have been discussing in the mini-series titled The Predators. For those of you who are new, before we start, I did just want to tell you that this is a fantasy justice channel where superheroes and mythological gods unite in the fight to save humanity and restore the balance of good and evil. It is designed to allow you to listen to it like an audiobook or to watch, seeing images, artwork, and dramatizations that make the story come to life on the screen and help you picture the story like a book. It allows you to escape in fantasy justice adventures. I did also want to forewarn you that although these stories are loosely based on real-world occurrences, all of the characters are fictional. The situations have been modified for dramatization, and all of the missions are carried out in fantasy and imagination. We've also changed the names and the locations of where these occurrences happened in order to protect the identities of the individuals in the stories. Some, if not all the topics, are sensitive in nature, so did also want to forewarn you on that. Now with that out of the way, I did just want to tell you that I know in the last video I told you I was going to go see that movie Sound of Freedom, and I did, and it was even better than I had imagined. That movie will invoke emotions from beginning to end. It is a very good story, it is very heartfelt, and it is extremely informative as well. So if you have not seen it, I do recommend that you see it. Now you want to make sure you stay to the end of this episode, so not only will you find out what is going to happen next in this series, but I am also going to put up one of those little tag things where you can get tickets for the movie. If finances are a problem, there's an option there for you to get tickets on them, because they don't want finances to deter people from being able to watch the movie. And there's also a way to pay it forward, so you can also click on that link and you can purchase tickets for other people to go see it in the theaters. Due to the sensitive topic and the nature of the story, the movie is not getting as much press and advertisement and marketing as it should. It is, though sensitive, it's a very important topic, and it can save many lives and help many parents and children out there. So make sure you stay to the end so that you can get that. Go see Sound of Freedom, and please enjoy the show. Promises of Lights and Fame. Suri Woo, a young immigrant girl from North Korea, was adopted at the young age of 4 and brought to America by her new parents, John and Susie. John and Susie loved Suri Woo more than anything, Susie being an attorney who dealt with corporate law, and John was a neurologist. Their careers and education had taken so much of their time that by the time they felt ready to have a family, Susie was up there in her biological years, and she was unable to conceive. However, this was not going to deter their dreams of having a family. So they adopted Suri Woo and brought her here to the States, and they gave her the best life possible. Suri Woo had everything a little girl could ever want. She had plenty of toys, a private school education, very nice clothes, and lots of friends. She was popular amongst her peers, living every little girl's dream life. Suriwu was truly blessed, but she always felt that something was missing. Though her parents, John and Susie, did their best to love and support and provide, Suriwu had a longing for attention. She always strived to be the center of attention. Her beauty was of utmost importance, as well as her popularity. She longed to be loved, always feeling like she was missing something. In her teenage years, Suriwu fell in with this group, and they called themselves the Chic Chicks. It was all about fashion, makeup, boys, and toys. That was their thing. They did cheerleading, dance, drama. Suriwu really took to drama. But her grades, they began to slip as she poured all her attention into her friends and her extracurricular activities. John and Susie, they were having none of that. If she wanted to continue those activities, she would need to keep her grades up. Suriwu, she began to rebel. She started to skip school, spending days in the malls and in local theaters, dreaming of someday being a model actress. Though her parents loved her very much, they felt disappointed in Suri. But Suri, she was feeling emptiness. And when she received applause for her performances and admiration for her beauty, it helped her feel more complete in her mind. John and Susie were trying to be empathetic to Suriwu's feelings, so they got her into counseling. It turned out that Suriwu had a sense of abandonment and rejection from her biological mother. In the attempt to protect her, John and Susie didn't tell her the whole story about her biological parents. See, Suriwu's mom did not give up on her. She gave her up so that she would have a better chance at life. So her father had passed away in war, and her mother was very ill. So when Suri was 3, she was already living in an orphanage. Suriwu, in learning the truth, it made her feel a little bit better. She understood that her biological mother didn't have much options and just wanted what was best for her. John and Susie also decided to get Suriwu a tutor to help bring her grades back up. Though Suriwu was not happy about this, she knew it was the only way her parents will allow her to continue hanging out with her friends and with her extracurricular activities. So for 2 days a week, that's what she agreed upon. Lisa May, that was the name of the tutor, came over and helped Suri get her grades up. Lisa May was a young, gorgeous woman. She was pursuing her graduate degree, and she did tutoring as well as modeling to pay for her schooling. This intrigued Suriwu, and the bond between them was almost instant. Suriwu gladly took her lessons, along with the opportunity to pick Lisa May's brain about how she could become a professional model. The two of them quickly became friends. Suri looked up to Lisa May. She trusted her as her mentor. As a result, Suri's grades started going back up. She stopped skipping school, and overall, her parents were very pleased with the outcome. Suriwu asked if she could go on a shoot with Lisa May, and she begged for them to sign her up at the modeling agency. Her parents were very hesitant. "We'll see," they said. To Suri, that meant no. So Lisa May volunteered to talk to her parents to see if she could come to watch her next local photo shoot. Since Lisa May was such a good influence, they decided if Suri really wants to pursue this as a career, going with Lisa May would be a safe option. So they agreed to let her go and observe. The next week came, and Lisa May said she was going to be doing a local photo shoot at a beach that was under an hour away from where they lived. Lisa promised it would not be an inconvenience, and it would allow her to see firsthand how much work was involved. With some hesitation, Susie and John agreed. That weekend, Suri Wu woke up early. She was full of excitement. Lisa May, as promised, picked her up promptly at 8 a.m., promising to have her back before dinner. Off they went. Upon arrival to the set, Suri Wu was so excited, even more than before. The cameramen, the stylists, all the lights. She started taking pictures. But then the photographer got angry, and he told her she needed to stop. She could not post those pictures, and no cell phones were allowed on set. Suri Wu said okay, but before she went back to the car to put her phone away, she sent a pic to her best friend Sally from that group, the Chic Chicks, with the caption saying, "Don't post," with shh and a smiley face. That was the last communication anyone would get from Suri Wu. It turned out Lisa May was not really Lisa May. She was a recruiter for an underage child smuggling ring. The entire modeling thing, the tutoring, everything was a farce. Later that evening, when Suri Wu didn't return for dinner, Susie was upset. "I knew this was a bad idea," she said to John, while he was telling her to calm down. "The shoot probably ran behind," he said. Susie said he was probably right. So she tried calling, but it went straight to voicemail. So then she tried calling Lisa May, and the line said it was disconnected. That's weird, she thought. She suddenly had a horrible feeling in the pit of her stomach. "I think something's wrong," she said to John. John kept telling her to keep calm. He then tried Lisa May's number, and the same thing, not in service. He said, maybe she forgot to pay her bill. You know how these young women are today, very forgetful. 3 more hours went by, and still nothing. Susie couldn't take it. She knew something was off. Her gut was just telling her that. She wanted to call the police, but John said she was overreacting. And then she remembered she had the info for that modeling agency, so she called. It was a legitimate modeling agency, for they had a receptionist and an answering service. But the woman on the phone said she had never heard of Lisa May, nor did they have any shoots on the beach. She informed them that they typically only did studio work for print and for commercials. Susie became frantic. They called the police. The police came to their home fairly quickly, since Suri Wu was only 15 years old, and they issued an Amber Alert. "They could be anywhere by now," Susie yelled. "It's been over 14 hours since she left the house." The police gathered as much information as they could about Lisa May and what Suri Wu was wearing, and where they think they would have gone. Meanwhile, Suri Wu was frantically trying to break free. The man who posed as the photographer ended up drugging her to keep her quiet. As they drove down towards San Diego with plans of smuggling her over the border, they were tied to a child smuggling ring in El Salvador that paid a lot of money for exotic American girls or minority American girls. If they get across the border, it would be much difficult to recover Suriwu. When they got to the border, it was chaos. Something was going on. They were checking all the vehicles. The police had acted very quickly and informed the Border Patrol of the abducted child. The two of them then decided to get out of the line, turn around, and check into a nearby motel until things calmed down. Josephine and Amalia were already in California interrogating Nancy and Maxine when they heard the Amber Alert. Upon receiving it, they went to get details on it. They then asked Nancy and Maxine if they knew of this ring. "We've heard of them," they replied, "but they're more low level. We don't know much about that," Nancy responded. "Oh, okay. We're going to get back to this conversation later," Josephine informed them. Josephine offered to help the police on the case since her and Amalia were already in town. Josephine went to interview the parents while Amalia assisted in scanning the traffic cam footage. "Get all her devices while you're at her parents'," she reminded Josephine. Josephine gathered as much information as she could. Her friends' names, the tutoring agency, all of her devices, tablets, Fitbit, iWatch, anything that she could think of. Susie, she could barely think, but Josephine helped her through it. "It doesn't matter how small or insignificant the detail is," she told her. "Everything is helpful." While they were gathering all of the devices and some of her belongings, the phone rang. It was Sally, Suriwu's best friend. Sally informed him that Suri had sent her a picture that morning around 9 a.m. Josephine then asked Sally to send her the picture so that she could analyze it. The picture contained a partial of the photographer's face, as well as geocoding, so they were able to confirm the last known location with the devices and that picture. Josephine went back to the precinct to show Amalia and have her start looking into the devices. Upon more careful inspection of the picture, she noticed something about the camera. It was an older 1970s, 80s camera in which the film would be hard to get. The photographer would either have to go to a specialty store or possibly order it on eBay. With that information they were able to gather, they were surely able to find Suriwu's whereabouts before it was too late. Meanwhile, at the motel, Suriwu was fighting for her life. She was feisty. Every time the cameraman or Lisa May went to go near her, she would fight them off, thrashing like a wild woman. They kept telling her she better keep the noise down, or they would send somebody to her parents' house and have them hurt them. Suri ended up curling up into a ball in the bathtub, crying with the door locked. Amalia was able to get into the devices fairly quickly, but she didn't really find anything that would be of assistance in locating where Suriwu was or who Lisa May really is. Since the information that she had given was false, it was going to be difficult to track who she is. But they were able to get somewhere with the cameraman. They were able to locate sellers on eBay that sold that particular type of film that was needed for that camera. There were 4 sellers. Out of the 4, 2 of them had recent sales. One of those sales was to a man in West Hollywood that was a close match to the face that was in the picture. The police immediately dispatched to that address, where they were able to get the identification of the man. This was going to make it much easier to try to get them if they go towards the border. Amalia, upon receiving this information, she immediately started calling around to the hotels, motels, and such, everywhere in the counties that were closest to the border. Meanwhile, Suri was begging to be let go. She couldn't understand how Lisa May could do this to her. "I thought you were my friend," she yelled at her. Lisa May, in the coldest way possible, responded, "I have no friends. It was done to me, and so I will now do it to you. That is the life that I know." She responded with zero remorse. The cameraman then took out what looked like some kind of prong, and he was heating it up with a lighter. He was going to brand Suri Wu to make sure that if she did escape, she understood that with that mark, she would always belong to them. That they would find her no matter where she tried to hide. He busted down the door to the bathroom and covered her mouth with a towel, while Lisa May held her down with her knees. As much as Suri tried to fight, she couldn't break free from them. The cameraman burned her skin with that prong. It was the same marking Lisa May had. It turned out what John thought was a tattoo was a scar from a branding from when she was abducted as a teenager. Lisa May was abducted and put into inappropriate videos and dates with much older men. Lisa May, she adapted to that lifestyle as a form of survival, only to later become the abductor herself. Suri had tears streaming down her face. Her eyes, looking at Lisa May with such sadness, she asked her, "How could you do this?" Lisa May responded that she had died a long time ago. This was her life now. The same way she got used to it, Suri would get used to it. She had a darkness in her eyes that Suri had never seen before. As soon as the information came back, Josephine took it, and she turned into Lenox and went down towards San Diego. She engaged the jets in her boots and was there within minutes, searching for the hotel in which she thought they were in. She stood back and just waited to feel Suri's pain and her fears. She was quickly able to figure out what room Suri Wu was in. She busted down the door, and they did not stand a chance against Lenox. The cameraman lunged at her. Lenox swung her arm, smacking him across the face, throwing him across the room without any effort. Lisa May then took Suri, holding a knife to her throat. "If you come any closer," she yelled, "I'm going to slice her throat." Lenox looked at Lisa May, and she immediately started to feel the pain that Lisa May was in. Lenox decided to use Lisa May's pain against her, and down to her knees she fell, dropping the knife. Lisa May began to thrash. She was reliving all the torture she had gone through as a child when they first abducted her. She was living through all the fears that she had put Suri through. And all of those countless of women and children that she helped transport over the border. All the kids that she exploited. The cameraman, he lunged at Lenox. He was no match. "This is too easy," Lenox thought to herself. "You're a very weak man," she yelled. She slapped him down again. This time, she unleashed her fury on him. He began to convulse in pain. His pain was way worse than anything Lisa May was going through. He was reliving thousands of children's pain. He could hear all the screams from the torture, all of the branding, all of that pain that these children have endured over the years. He was living through it in his mind. He was also reliving his own torture. See, it turned out that both him and Lisa May were past victims of the same exploitation ring. Lenox couldn't help but feel pity for what they had gone through. They were also victims, but they are now become exploiters and abductors themselves. That behavior cannot go unpunished. No matter what they have gone through in the past, it does not give them the right to inflict that and repeat that pattern on others. Within moments, police sirens were heard, and with that, Lenox disappeared, leaving the two of them on the ground, convulsing, reliving the torture and the pain. She later reappeared as Josephine. See, no one knows that Josephine is Lenox, and the longer they can keep this a secret, the better it is for them to accomplish their missions and their goal of saving humanity. These two perps, they were easy to break. We were able to get the information needed to find out where this ring is in El Salvador. The FBI and the OIA went there to break up this ring successfully. Right before they were about to ship a group of girls. All of them were saved. Suri Wu was then transported to the hospital where she was treated for her minor injuries. She would also be receiving counseling for the trauma she had just endured. She was quickly united with her parents, and this was a happy ending for them. It could have been so much worse. But unfortunately, the trauma followed Suri. As a result of this trauma, Suri went from toxic relationship to toxic relationship. It wasn't until later on, when she was already in her 40s, with a child of her own, that she finally found peace and a loving marriage. It took a lot of years of counseling for her to heal. She would no longer live the remainder of her life in fear that she would be found by the leaders of that cult, that ring. She changed her name, and she eventually got that branding removed from her upper left shoulder. She had a little bit of plastic surgery to cover up the scar from the branding, and then she had a tattoo of angel wings put over the scar so that it would remind her that she always had an angel over her shoulder watching over her. This tattoo also reminded her that no matter how bad things seem at the time, there is always hope, and to always be grateful for your blessings, and that she, by the grace of God, had the strength to get through it. So that is going to conclude today's story. Now, this was a patron's request, and she was able to assist in taking down this exploitation ring. And at the time, during the story, I changed it a little bit to bring it more to current times. But at the time of Suri's abduction, they didn't have the cell phones like we have now, that are smartphones. They were just like big, bulky phones that you couldn't really locate the way you can phones now. And they used to use pagers and stuff like that. So, and there were still like payphones. So at that time, you know, they didn't have all the technological advances. But what Suri did have is she had incredible street smarts. And her mother had taken her to have self-defense classes, so she knew how to defend herself. When the opportunity arose, Suri used those skills to escape. She picked the lock. They had, she had described that they had these restraints on her, and it was tied with like some kind of padlock that had a key. And she was able to pick that lock somehow. And when she got free, she then used her self-defense skills to get basically knock out the guy who was in the room watching her, and she was able to escape. So, I mean, she left that room she didn't even have shoes, and she took a little bit of cash the guy had. She got on a bus and she made her way home. So, I mean, she was extremely lucky, and God for her mother teaching her how to survive in situations and how to defend herself, because it really saved her life, and it's probably saved the lives of countless of other young women that could have gone missing around the same time, because the information that she was able to provide helped to find those perpetrators. So, you know, it's a nice outcome to a horrific story where they were able to get some justice. And, you know, she wanted me to tell her story, not just so that she can get fantasy justice, because in real life she did get some justice, but in hopes that her story would help other young women out there and other young men out there and kids to be aware of the dangers, especially in the entertainment world, where people will false promise, you know, lights and camera action and all of the fame in order to lure you into something that's a little darker in nature. So just to forewarn everyone on that and keep everybody safe. Now, as I promised in the beginning of this video, I would be showing you how you can get tickets to go see Sound of Freedom. Like I said, I am not a promoter for this movie at all, but I believe in the message that they are trying to send. And I think it's important for people to be made aware. Even I researched this topic quite a bit. I've been researching this topic since 2016, and I've written about it. And I was even surprised as the numbers that I had come across were like half of what the actual numbers are, which is, you know, I thought the numbers that I had discovered were horrific, but to find out that the numbers are actually double of that, it's just insane. So the more awareness we can create, the safer we can keep our women and children, and maybe we can stop this from happening. So go see that movie. It's so good. It made me emotional from beginning to end. And if you can't afford the tickets, just click on here. This is barcode, I guess is what you can call it. So you can click on that barcode. And I'll leave it up for a second. And on there, you can not only download tickets for yourself or get tickets if you can't afford them for yourself, but you can also pay it forward and buy tickets, whether you're sending it to somebody else, or I had like 3 different options on there. So I think you can buy tickets so that other people who can't afford it can go on there and get them. And I think you can also buy tickets and send them to people, which is kind of nice. So you can encourage others to go on, you know, a movie night and watch something that, even though it is emotionally sensitive in topic, it's extremely informative. And they say similar thing, you know, but alone we might not be able to make as much of a difference, but if we all become aware and do something about it together, we can certainly make a difference in making the world a safer place for everyone. So with that said, I am going to say that I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your weekend. Thank you so much for watching. As always, please take care of yourselves, take care of your kids, and God bless.